The message that I want to bring out to you guys is the nature of what evil is. And I think this is very important because a lot of people like to avoid this. Many of us just like to get into the fruits and like the nice things of the Bible, but there's also another side of the Bible, and it's the message of evil, the message of sinisterism, the Lord of darkness. Jesus told us to be as wise as serpents, right? So that's a commandment. So we need to learn the nature of what the nature of evil is. What evil is? What is the intricacy, the essence of what evil is? And I think that one of the best verses to find out what evil is, or the essence of what evil is in the book of Genesis. In Genesis 11, it talks about Shinar. Talks about people in northern Iraq, and they're one language, one tribe, one people, and they're all one, and they get together and they say, let's build this tower and get into heaven. And we're all going to collectively build this tower, this fortress, and reach ourselves into the heavens. And as we know, this is the antithesis of Christianity. This is the opposite of Christianity, because in Christianity, God reaches to mankind. Man does not reach him into the heavens. And this is what all the isms really teach. Islam, Mormonism, Scientology, Buddhism, they all teach that man can get into heaven. In Islam, a Muslim blows himself up, and he becomes the intercessor or the Messiah for 70 of his relatives. So they also can get into heaven. They become Jesus Christ. They become God. Anyway, in Genesis 11, it talks about people in Shinar. They build this tower. And God doesn't like that, and he scatters them abroad, makes different tongues, different tribes, different languages, and different nationalities. And basically, what God did was he created national pride. That was the birth of nationalism. Nationalism is very important. Patriotism is very important. It's given to us by God. God does not want universalism. God does not want collectivism. And, modern day people with modern ways of thinking, we should all just be one big happy family. And many people have tried that, and it's led to the deaths of millions and millions of people. Going back to, communism, or Islam wants to unite the world right now. In Islam, there is the concept of the Ummah, which is the Islamic community. And what the Muslims are wishing for right now, the Muslim world, especially in Turkey, is the creation of a one world government under Islam, under Sharia law, or Islamicism and all that, under the Mahdi, the Islamic Messiah, one world leader. And that's what the devil wants. That is what Satan wants. He wants to bring the world back to that era of the world, that Shinarian era, the Shinar, Tower of Babel. That's what he wants. And and doing more research into Shinar, I began to read about what the Babylonians did themselves in ancient Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar, the Bible, we talk about Nebuchadnezzar, how he tried to burn down, Abednego, Meshach, Eshach. I read the scribes of Nebuchadnezzar and what Nebuchadnezzar said. And Nebuchadnezzar, he says that he built this tower as the foundation of heaven and earth, to bring man to earth. And he dedicated this tower to a god called Bel Marduk. And Bel Marduk was the main god of the Babylonian mythology. And in the Babylonian teachings, it teaches that Bel Marduk was the god that introduced the world to the tower. And so we know for a fact that there was this culture in ancient Babylon that wanted to bring man to man to heaven. And what's interesting is the evolution of Bel Marduk, the god, the head patron god. Bel Marduk later evolved into Baal, which we know the Canaanites worshiped, the Hebrews rebelled against God and worshipped Baal. God told them not to do that. So God, these are all in the Bible. Bel Marduk is in the Bible. It's in the book of Jeremiah. Marduk is destroyed by God. It says right there. And anyway, what's interesting is how he evolved. Baal, and then Baal went into Arabia, and the Arabs later changed him into what we call Allah. And Allah wants a one world today. So the same God that wanted a one world order in Babylon is the same God today that wants to unite the world under the Ummah, that wants to unite the world worshiping him. It's the same deity. Satan has never changed. This is why in the book of Revelation it says that old dragon, he's ancient. He's always been around us. He's never changed. And, people have always been trying to unite the world under one world. Not just the Muslims, but the founder of liberalism, or the founder of leftism, his name was Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He was an old philosopher before the French Revolution. He wished for a one-world community. He also loved Islam because Islam wishes for a one-world community. George Wilhelm Hegel, huge in leftist circles, German philosopher. If you go to university today, all universities teach Hegelism, all of them. So if you're a university student, you're most likely, or if you haven't heard of Hegel, go to the university and talk to your professors. They most likely know him. He's huge in leftist circles today. Hegel wished for a one-world government. He wished for a one world under a state religion. People would worship the state. Socialism would commence around the world, and everybody would not own anything. Nobody would own property. But he also loved Islam because Islam wants socialism. He said Islam is a beautiful religion because within Islam, everybody works as one under Allah. Allah is Bel Marduk. It's the same thing. The devil's agents have always been trying to bring us back to the Tower of Babel. And you ask why? Why? What is wrong with bringing the world as one? Doesn't nationalism create racism? Doesn't nationalism create war? What is wrong with bringing the world one, Ted? What is wrong with that? There's a lot of problems with it. If, for example, if there was no nationalism, Hitler would have easily conquered the world. America would have not fought against Hitler. If there was no nationalism, for example, Genghis Khan would have never been stopped. So we can't deny nationalism. Like I said before, nationalism is ingrained into us by God. And other famous writers. All leftists, the reason why they love Islam, people today, they say, well, Islam is a conservative religion. It's just like Christianity. It has the same values, and it has family values and all that. This is not true. And people say, well, those liberals are so stupid. The reason why they love Islam is because they're stupid, they're ignorant. Don't they understand that Islam is so opposite to the ideology? Well, I disagree. Islam is very parallel to the liberal ideology. The reason is because both wish for a one-world order. Both wish for socialism. Muhammad the Prophet, he said, the Ummah is like one body. If there's a little bit of pain in the eye, the rest of the body comes in and kills that pain. Hitler believed the same thing. He saw Germany as one organism, working as one. Christians and Jews were viruses, germs that needed to be exterminated. Like I said before, Rizou, Hegel, all of them, all leftist thinkers follow Islam. The reason is because, not because they're stupid, but because their ideas are the same. It's not just about one world. Nationalism, like I said, nationalism really is an absolute. It's all in us. You can't get rid of it. It's absolutely here. And like I said, the leftists have a hatred of absolutes. The hatred of absolutes. They love relativism. And in the Bible, there are plenty of absolutes. Nationalism is an absolute that God created. He absolutely did not want Shinar to exist. He absolutely did not want the Tower of Babel to exist. There's many other absolutes. Thou shalt not kill. That's an absolute. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not commit adultery. These are all absolutes. In Jesus Christ, he said, I am the truth, the way, and the life. No one can go to the Father but through me. That's an absolute. There is no asterisk in the Bible where there's little footnotes in the bottom. There's no references. I can just check this here. What I really meant to say was, I'm not the only way. I could be the only way to you, but not to the people over there. They can go worship Satan or Islam, Muslim, or Allah, or whatever they want. It's not like that. It's all absolutes. And the reason why they all work together, the leftists and the Muslims, the reason why they all work together is because it's not just the one world order. That's part of it. But the bigger part of it is a world without absolutes. If you look at all the people that wanted to bring that Shinarian concept to the world, Stalin, Karl Marx, Rousseau, it all ended in death. Rousseau influenced the French Revolution. Hundreds of thousands of Christians were massacred. All of France went into chaos until Napoleon brought back order. If you look at Stalin, 80 to 100 million people massacred. If you look at Nazi Germany, it wasn't just killing Jews. I mean, they were massacring Jews and Christians as well as Catholics and all these other people as well. But near the end of the Nazi empire, when the Russians were destroying them and when the Americans were destroying them and the British were bombing them, there were many Nazis who were committing suicide. Look at the Aztec Empire. The Aztec Empire wanted to conquer all of Mexico, make it all under the Aztecs. Look what happened. Before the Spaniards came, thousands and thousands of Aztecs were killing each other. It was chaos. There was no absolutes. There was no absolute order. And that is the conclusion of what I want to say. It is the absolutes. God is absolute. God is not relative. He's there. It is what it is. It is unto itself. God is there. That's it. He transcends all. And that's, what I really want to say is that everything is absolute. There is no such thing as relativism. And somebody come up to me and say, well, they are. Ted, there's no absolutes. I was at a Barnes & Noble and I got in an argument with an atheist in the philosophy section. And he told me, he said, Ted, if a woman wants to have an abortion, that's her right. I said, well, isn't it wrong to murder? He said, well, not in that situation. There's different situations. Sometimes it could be all right. In that situation, it's okay to eliminate that life because she's poor, or she's in distress, or she made a mistake. It's not her fault. I said, so obviously you don't believe in absolutes. He said, no, there are no absolutes. I said, are you absolutely sure? And he just looked at me like this for it was like 30 seconds just staring at me. And I just looked at him and I was like, I learned from the best. And he says, I could see that. And thank you. But, and like I said, in Islam, there are no absolutes. In Islam, it's like, all right, don't kill these people. Muslims, don't kill those people. You can't kill Muslims. But Christians, Jews, and all the other, you can kill them all you want. That's not absolute. That's relativism. Muhammad invented an illusion in his own mind. See, Jesus Christ didn't have illusion. He says, this is this, this is that. That's it. He said, there's always going to be poor, there's always going to be rich. If you don't work, you don't eat. There's all absolutes. But within Islam, you can kill those people, don't kill these people. You can, in the Taliban, they have books on what to do with really explicit things, what to do with little boys. But you can't have it. You can't have a little boy as a lover at this age, but you can have it at this age. There's no absolutes. It's chaos. It's chaos. And if you look at what they want, it's really the opposite of the 10 Commandments. To kill, to steal, to lie, to not be fruitful nor multiply, to not be absolutely sure, to be relative. These are the things that they want. And communism, communism and Islam are basically the same, and both of them ended in chaos. And socialism is not an absolute. Capitalism is an absolute. Socialism is, these people, you can make a living, but these people, they don't have to work. They should get money. We should all just spread it around. No, capitalism is like I said, it's an absolute, and it's a necessity because it's an absolute. Capitalism is a truth. It's a truth. It's an absolute truth. We need interest. We need profit in order for a society to survive. But right when you take that away, with that one absolute truth, it leads to chaos. You take away one absolute, it leads to chaos. And I always say about when it comes to socialism, I always like to tell my dad and everyone else that I talk to about these things, I say, what's a communist? They say, what? I said, a communist is a capitalist who wants everybody to be socialist. That's what a communist is. Because, like I said, it's all about power, and it's all about ruling over everybody. And it goes back to the Tower of Babel. Unite the whole world under one, destroy all absolutes, which will eventually lead everyone to one, because, like I said, nationalism is an absolute. And have chaos. Do what you want. Truth is what you make it, and that's an illusion. And before I introduce my father, I just want to say truth is absolute, and we must always love that which loves the absolute. Many people, they go to church and they just come for emotion. They don't come for doctrine. And in Romans 16, a friend of mine, Frank, I don't know if he's in the crowd, showed me this great verse, but he said, in the future, people won't go to sound doctrine, but they'll go to the things that tickle their ears, and from speakers who use emotion to trick the fools. You don't want to be one of those fools. You don't want to go to someone with emotion. Like I said, follow the absolute. The Bible is full of absolutes. Don't follow emotion. When Hitler spoke, people didn't care about truth. They cared about emotion. And by using that emotion, he had the ability to use all of them collectively at once. In the Aztec Empire, when they were plucking people's hearts out, people in the crowd didn't care. They didn't follow absolute truth. They just followed the high priest on the top of the pyramid, because the high priest used really nice words that ignited his imagination. And the same thing, like I said, people go to church. Sometimes they go for an emotional reason. And then you go back home and their emotions are gone. There's nothing there. Because they think they found happiness, but the happiness is gone. But the reality of it is that true happiness comes from absolute truth. Because absolute truth is there. You can see it. It's real. And once you follow it, that's when absolute happiness comes. That's what I want to conclude with. I want to introduce my father. Thank you for listening to me.